So I had this idea to do a movie about imaginary friends a long time ago, and I brought it to this up-and-coming actor named Ryan Reynolds. And he and I were talking about doing a movie together, and I said, I have this idea about imaginary friends, and I'm still figuring out exactly what it would be about, but would you want to be a part of it? And he was like, yes, definitely. And so I thought if I do a movie through the eyes of this little girl and actually show how imagination is not only this powerful tool to have fun, but also this enormous coping mechanism to make sense of things that might be difficult to make sense of otherwise.
Way before the script was ever even written, we were kind of banging back ideas back and forth about this and about what it might feel like to shoot something that, in essence feels a bit like a live-action Pixar film. And that's really what John has put on the page, I think. It's incredibly emotional, and it ebbs and flows. It's that make them laugh, make them cry, and bring them back to laughter.
The idea that imaginary friends are always with us and they never left us, even when we're adults, is sort of one of the big themes of the movie, and that all you have to do is turn around and your childhood's waiting for you right there.
As we started shooting this movie, I've talked to a lot of people that, they'll ask me what I'm up to. I'll say, I'm shooting this film about imaginary friends. I've talked to people who are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who will talk about, oh man, I miss my imaginary friends. I had 2 when I was a kid, and their names were this and that. And they would kind of go into this sort of wistful, nostalgic, and not the least of which emotional kind of reverie of when they were kids and that time when they had that friend that was there for them unconditionally and always.
I am so excited for my kids to see this, and totally terrified for my kids to see this. They're going to be the most honest critics of my entire life. This is a huge, wild, fun movie, and it all comes from a place of total and pure love. It's not just fun and funny and adventurous and magical. It's also very heartfelt, because I think that when you're dealing with the things that are most important to kids, it is heartfelt. And the truth is, we all have a kid inside us. We just have to find a way to invite them to go back. And I think that that's what I'm most excited about.
It's not like The Quiet Place. Very different. Can you believe it? It's not the same audience. But no, it's beautiful. And someone who has grown up, I had many imaginary friends when I was little and stuff like that. When I was little, just having that imagination, I think I was somebody who had a very big imagination, very silly kind of a kid, and that carried on to a job and a career. And John kind of is showing that in this. It's a beautiful story about not losing that part of you.
The real engine of the imagination of this film is John, who's written it, and because there's no cynicism in any beat of the imagination that he's put into it. There's no cheating. These creatures are as real to him as you or I. And so his enthusiasm and his total logic abilities to place them, understand them, interrogate them, excavate the scenes, including them, makes you believe in it. In that way, I think that I don't know whether, our imaginations are stimulated because we've still got to make the film, but I feel profoundly that it's going to ignite the imaginations of the viewer.
Fiona Shaw is one of my favorite people I've ever met in my life. Talk about a magical person. I'm not even sure she's a real person. She might be an if herself. But I remember talking to her about it and saying there's going to be this amazing ballet piece, and we'll get you, a dance coach or whatever. And she said, I did ballet till I was 16. And I said, what? And she right then and there just started to dance in front of me and do all these moves that she hadn't done for however many years. And I was blown away. And then I said, well, why did you stop? And she said, just too old, too awkward, and too tall. And so that is the line that she will say in the movie, which is, I was too tall, too old, and too awkward. Who wants to see an older person dance? And that's exactly what happens before she dances. And so it was all just so serendipitous and beautiful. And the moment she said that, I was like, that's what the movie's about.
I think John Krasinski is brilliant at writing things about families. And his previous, much darker pieces are about families and the bonds in families. And in this film, there's a child. There's obviously the wonderful IFs. But there's mainly 3 adults who are floundering. They're just flawed. And I think, it's in that way, a very grown-up film about what it is to be a child with adults. It's not in any way smoothing over any of that. And yet, the adults too are out of touch with their childhood. And of course, all adults are out of touch with their childhood and do better when they get in touch with it.
I struggle to think of a filmmaker that hasn't, that's been more informed by their own parenthood and children than John Krasinski. I mean, he filters all of his storytelling through that prism, and I think it's beautiful. But what's striking to me about it is that he can make a movie that is as scary and provocative as Quiet Place and Quiet Place 2, yet he can also do something as tender and unexpected and hilarious as Imaginary Friends.
In my opinion, Ryan Reynolds is one of the most talented people we have ever had in this business, full stop. Not only is he clearly wildly funny, but he is so enormously talented in his performance. He has the ability to draw you in with his charm, with his comedy, but then also make these hairpin turns of emotion. He knows that timing isn't just about jokes. Timing is also how you get an emotional reaction out of someone too. And I'm just so excited for people to see him in a role like this, which, to be really honest, I don't think anyone else could have played.
When he hosted SNL many years ago, it might have even been my first year, I just remember thinking, this guy's absolutely hilarious. It's a shame he's so ugly. And he's hilarious. He's absolutely hilarious. And being in awe of him then, of his comedy chops then, and now it's a shame that he's just never did anything with it.
One of my favorite characters is the character of Blue, who Steve Carell plays in the movie. And my idea for Blue actually came from an experience with my daughter Violet, who, when she was young, used to tell me that my favorite color was purple, even though my favorite color was clearly blue. And after 2 years, I buckled. And now purple is my favorite color. So when I was creating the character of Blue, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to put that joke in the movie where this is a clearly purple character whose name is Blue, all because his kid was colorblind. And so you have the whole purple and blue joke all in one character.
Blue is a purple pom-pom, essentially. He's 8 feet and 3 inches tall, and he's the most huggable thing in the entire world. He has short little stubby legs and the biggest heart ever, and he's just full of joy, and his laughter is contagious.
Getting to work with Steve on this movie again was like no other experience. I mean, to have such a shared history with him, and as a dear friend and coworker at an office, to be able to dive into something completely different and see him be as talented as I always thought he could be in any realm. Of course, he jumps into the voiceover world. He seems to be having some luck with that. I mean, I don't think anybody brings that level of energy, that level of comedy, and that level of warmth all in one go. You know what I mean? He really is, when you see the character of Blue, bing, show Blue here. When you see the character of Blue, it is innately the sweetest, funniest, most adorable character you've ever seen. Who can you get to be the sweetest, most adorable person? You go get Steve Carell. That's what you do.
How would I describe the core message of this film? To have an imagination, and it's never over. You can still keep going, and even though you're having a terrible day, or you may feel like something is not going your way, there's always some time when it will. There may not be right now, but it'll come soon.
I had a kind of an imaginary friend when I was a kid. It was Pookie was was his name, and he was like a bear, like a kind of a looked just like a teddy bear sort of thing. And my brother Jeff and I shared this imaginary friend back and forth, and it was like a really kind of a weird bond my brother and I had, and it's something we still talk about to this day. So this movie on every level really kind of resonated with me in ways that I both expected and didn't expect.
Goes that way, right? He might do that to try to catch it, but if it comes this way, right? If it comes this way and goes this, he's gonna try to like